Welcome to The Climb, the podcast where we conquer our inner mountains. I'm Natasha Wallstra, your host and guide on this transformative journey. This show is brought to you by the Intermountain Foundation, inspired by the work of Diane Wong, empowering women everywhere to stand up, speak out, and make a difference. Every episode, we explore a theme related to personal growth and empowerment, drawing on the experiences and insights of extraordinary women. This isn't just a listening experience. It's a call to action, an invitation to grow, and a journey of discovery. So are you ready to embark on today's climb?
A, B, C mark?
Let's begin. Dana, Zoe, Diane, welcome to The Climb. I am so excited to have y'all here today with us in sunny Los Angeles, California, to have a wonderful conversation with Diane Wong. Before we dive into the conversation, I'd like to give a very warm welcome to Diane. She's the CEO and founder of DHgate and MyShop, as well as the founder of the Intermountain Foundation, the sponsor of this podcast. Could you tell us a little bit more about your journey and what inspired you to start the Intermountain?
Sure. I'm happy to be here, Natasha, Finally, we can in-person meet up with each other. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I remembered I founded my first company at the end of 1999. The company named Joyo.com, which is one of the first B2C e-commerce platform in China. And Joyo was acquired by Amazon in 2004. And then I started to think about what about next? I still wanted to build something. I'm particularly passionate about to empower small and medium-sized enterprises. So I built DHgate, which is enable global SMEs that they can do business online easily. So nowadays, DHgate can serve more than 60 million global buyers all over the world. We covered 230 countries and regions. Almost 10 years ago, I started to work on some international organizations like APEC, like the G20 as Business Advisory Council. I'm particularly interested in women empowerment. So as the APEC Women Economic Forum leader, as the chairperson in the Women Alliances in B20, we initiate a lot of programs like Women Connect, like Her Power competition, especially enable young women that they can leverage digital platforms, that they can start their own business. Just like almost 20 years ago, I started to do e-commerce. Nowadays, I started to look more about the inner strengths, the inner power of women. So that's why I initiated the Intermountain Foundation, is the global charity program.
I'm very much a case study for the Intermountain Foundation, as I very much have to listen to my inner voice and listen to the strength that I have and sometimes get scared or nervous about. So, but it's wonderful too. We have two very inspiring creators with us as well. And I know they've been influenced by your work with MyShop and DHgate. I would love to hear a little bit more of both of your journeys and how you started with MyShop.
Sure, absolutely an honor to be here. I'm so inspired by everyone here because you're all creating something that's so impactful, not only for yourself, but paving a road to show others that things are possible. So my journey with creating is kind of funny because when I was growing up, I've always been a creatively driven kid. But due to societal norms, I was very scared of becoming a starving artist. So I studied economics and accounting in college, worked in the financial industry and so on. It just so happened that during COVID, I had a bit of extra time, say from the LA traffic that was no longer existing, that I got to learn how to edit. And from there, that became my creative outlet that led me to build, which I'm very, very grateful for, a platform and a community to speak to millions of women out there who might have a different path, who might have a similar path, but we're all going through our own set of challenges and growing together. And that to me is beyond precious. And because of this community, I now have the privilege to be working with brands such as my shop to bring out really good products that I believe in to this community.
That is
Great.
incredible.
Thank you so much.
Dana?
Okay, so I'm Dana. I'm originally from San Diego, California, and when I was younger, I used to draw all the time. So I knew that I was going to be in this creative space some way. And when I got older, I really wanted to be a director for a movie because my mom has a book that she wrote about her life. So I wanted that book to come to life in a movie, and that's still a passion of mine. And I was supposed to go to college and do all that stuff, but I decided to take a gap year. And I moved to Hawaii and I was like a videographer and a filmer. And so in Hawaii, I was filming, doing all this stuff. And the people that I was shooting, they were like, "Oh, you're funny, you should do TikTok." And I'm like, "No, I've never showed my face in front of the camera before. I'm not doing that." And so then one day I decided to, post something on TikTok, and my fourth video blew up. But at the time, I was kind of just like, "Oh, this is so cool. Like, I don't really care what they're saying about me. Like, whatever." You know what I mean? And then I just kept posting every day, and, here we are. And now I'm a musician. I make music. Now that's my biggest passion right now, is to do that. And then I met Candy and Erica, and I work with My Shop now, and we're about to launch my own clothing line through My Shop. And this is something that we made, this necklace right here. And we just got all the designs actually today through like My Shop designers and all of that stuff. So we're gonna be coming out with a huge line through My Shop, which is super exciting. And my first pair of shoes I ever bought, I bought off of DHK. Ever. Yeah, so that was like super exciting. When I was told that I was gonna get to me, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool," because I used to shop on DHgate all the time. Like, it's so awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Obviously, the journey to get to where you have today didn't happen overnight. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that path was and any sort of struggles that you had along the way?
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of resistance to me turning a passion into a career because from a traditionally Asian and more conservative background, my entire family was totally against it. I was told that I have no talent, I have no future, I will be irrelevant. A lot of hurtful words that come from a caring perspective, I understand from my family, just thinking about the risks involved. But also that risk is something I'm willing to take myself because I am truly passionate about this, pursuing this as a career, and really passionate about just keep on serving my community. So that's like a huge motivator along the way. But I would say the biggest challenge along the way is my family just not understanding what I'm doing as a career. They still think it's like very temporary. The internet comes and go, which it does, but I think the human connection aspect of social media is here to stay, whatever that transforms to.
Definitely. Diane, have you experienced as well similarities with your family when you were trying to leave and start your own entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah, definitely. I still remember when I founded my first company, it seems nobody agreed with this direction because it seems too many uncertainties and risks ahead of us. Because around that time, I worked for some very famous and successful multinational companies like Microsoft and Cisco. I was already promoted as the youngest department manager in Microsoft and Cisco. It seems like we have a brilliant future in that workplace. When I stay with myself, there's some inner voice. I hear that voice. And that tells the truth, where you want to go. Fortunately, from the childhood, I practiced the capability to connect with nature, connect with my heart. So I listen to that voice, and I take action. So for the past 20 years journey in entrepreneurship, I found if you can pursue something in your heart, then that's the truth. it can enable you to face difficulties and the challenges, and you can be persistent with this journey, especially in the work environment. I experienced the so-called glass ceiling. I was over past, a promotion several times. It's pretty common in the workplace that women need to prove themselves maybe 3 or 4 times more than the male counterparts if we want to be promoted. I think around that time, I intentionally adjust my mood from negative to positive. So it really depends. You have different angles to see one thing. And with positive perspective, I think you can get a lot of very positive results. Yeah.
So how do you know when to listen to your heart when you're hearing the truth? Like, what is it that you experience, or what are you doing to make sure that you're following your heart?
When I stay with myself, or you have a long walk, or resting by the lake. And recently, I started to do the meditation, no matter what regions, what beliefs. But that's the one of the best ways, I think, people can find the inner peace. And I also think journaling may be another way. I remember when I, in the middle school, I start journaling and talk to myself. Okay, yeah. But I think people, they have their different ways best for themselves. But
Yeah, I write in a journal every single day.
yeah, but
Yeah, it's the best way.
the ways can connect with your inner heart.
100%.
Yeah.
Dana, what got you starting to write in your journal originally?
I actually I went through a lot of tough stuff here in LA, and having your whole life on camera really, kind of takes a toll on you and everything. So there was a lot that was happening, even some of the difficult times that I've dealt with, through this whole process was I didn't really have to deal with my parents really not allowing me to do things, because they were very they were kind of we don't know what's going on. We don't know anything about social media. So if you can prove it to us, then it's kind of okay, cool. And I remember the day I told my mom that I wasn't going to college, and I was like, because she's a school teacher. So I was like, oh, that's a tough one. But they were never oh, don't go do anything, which I was so grateful for, because I would definitely not be who I am today if they weren't so you got to figure out life on your own. You can't just because I moved out when I was 17 to Hawaii. So they were just everyone, my mom always says oh, everyone always asks me, how did you allow Dana to move to Hawaii by herself at 17? Mom's just gotta let her do her thing, But I definitely struggled with, a bunch of, management taking advantage of me, a lot of money stolen from different people that try to work for me, because I believe that, if I want to be successful, it's not going to be on my own. I'm not going to be just building up by myself. I'm going to always need a team around me. I'm going to always need, other people to, help me, grow, too. You can't do this stuff on your own, you know what I mean? And so I always put a lot of trust in people and rely a lot of trust, and a lot of that gets taken advantage of, because I like to trust people very easily. So during that time I got into a very depressed state, and there was a lot going on in my life. So so I was hey, I want to figure out how to fight depression without even taking any pills, antidepressants or anything, and try to figure out how I can get fight depression without doing any of those things. And first thing that I did was I bought a journal, started writing all the time, changing my environment, the people that I hung out with. I changed all of that. I changed even the music that I listened to every single day. Now I never listen to rap music ever, because it just very puts a toll on your mind. You're what's going on? But yeah, so that was one of the biggest things. And so a lot of people noticed that, and I got out of depression, and it took a good 8 months. And I would always be oh, depression is not anything, because but once you're in it, it's a whole different playing field. So a lot of people come to me and is always oh, help with mental health, and I always am first thing, get a journal, write every single day. And yeah, that's one of the main reasons why.
Dana, that's also one of the reasons I wanted to initiate Inner Mountain Foundation, because I think that's critical for women. We have a safe environment or a safe space that women can help women.
Yeah.
At least we can start to share the challenges or frustrations we have. And some of the frustrations, I believe many women, they already have that experience. and they pass through that.
Yeah.
So with this kind of community, that we help each other, share the the past, maybe best practices, the experiences. That's easier for others.
That's what's so exciting about doing this podcast, actually, is because we're creating this safe space for women to share these stories and experiences a lot of us have been through, but maybe haven't talked about or don't know how to get past it. And so we want to be able to have a space for that. And I think it's been really fun, but it's been inspired by your thinking and philosophy around this Intermountain thinking and talking to your heart and inspiring.
And you witnessed and made an impact along that transformation. So that's inspirational on its own.
I'm lucky. I'm not lucky like you were, Zoe and Dana, in the young age. You already start to think about this kind of things and fight against the skepticals. I think when I graduated from university, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, maybe only work in the university and workplace for maybe 5 or 8 years. I started to think about that.
So how old were you when you first founded your first company?
30.
Wow.
30 years old.
But I feel like we are able to do that nowadays because leaders like you have done it in the past and you showed us it's possible.
Right.
And I can relate so much to being lost after college because I studied something that I thought was, appropriate according to societal norms. So when it's not from like an inner passion, I felt very empty and aimless in a sense. I worked in the financial industry. I worked at a Big Four. I worked in PayPal as well in marketing, which is something I'm more passionate about that relates to content. But overall, I realized that doing anything, even things you like versus things you don't like, there are going to be challenges. But the challenge will feel different. They will feel so different. Whereas when I was working in the financial industry, I was like, oh, this is so draining. I feel like completely exhausted and I feel empty and hollow. Whereas I could work on videos all day and all night. Nobody has to pay me a single cent. And I was not get paid a single cent, and I would still propel myself forward because, as you said, it's the inner strength that comes, that supports the journey.
So it isn't always a straight line. There's sometimes some roller coasters, and you have long days and sometimes headaches. What typically do you do, or how do you push through those moments when you're having a rough day?
I think it relates to what we were just talking about. If anything, I learned to appreciate the challenging times because they really make you question, like, why am I doing this? And the answer might change throughout time. You might be passionate about one thing, like it might be self-expression. It might be caring about a community. It might be serving a bigger purpose. And that's okay. Like, changes happen all the time, but you have to be authentic and genuine to yourself in terms of why you're doing it. And if the reason is not strong enough, you're not going to be able to push against those. So I think I learned to really appreciate those challenging times whenever, for example, a video doesn't do well and then those negative thoughts come, like the negative comments start to come. It's like, am I really cut out for this? Am I really just like not talented and suited for this? And then you think about like why you're creating.
Sorry, what kind of topics are they're interested in this community?
A lot of things. So I started creating content based on whatever I'm passionate about. So I did a lot of diet and fitness because I love working out and like strengthening myself. And I also did a lot of adulting videos, like moving to an apartment on my own, starting a new life. And I did like CPA videos and like how to graduate college in 3 years. Anything that I find either helpful to myself or my younger self, or that I am actually passionate about, like food, exercising. I did a lot of that.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay.
But for me, it's, in my eyes, you really can't appreciate what's good unless you've experienced the bad. So all of those bad times, like I feel like I've matured so much faster than somebody at the normal age because of like everything that I've done or like what I've been through, you know what I mean? And so those times, it's like, I don't know, I like the hard times, you know what I mean? I just like to like push through things, and like I have like set goals in my mind that it's like, okay, every single day I really want to get to those goals. And if like you even like, oh, like I didn't get this many views this day, which is like so dumb to think about. Like I always hate thinking about that. That is our job. Like it's kind of like we have to make sure that we're on top and like, you know, getting stuff done and like pushing through. And like I'll have like days where I'll be like, oh, I don't have anything today, and I'll stress myself out because I'm like, no, I could be doing something. Like get going. Like why are we having a chill day? Like but you gotta have some chill days. And so I was like, okay, I need to love myself more. So I need to like be in tune with being alone and like, you know, loving myself by myself, you know? So I was like, okay, what can I do by myself? Okay, I'll go sit down at a sit-down restaurant by myself alone because that's nerve-wracking. Like,
I love it.
it's like, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm gonna go and do that. So the first time I ever went, I drove, went down, sat down at a restaurant. It was like an outside patio restaurant. So, and I was just like, hey, I'm not gonna go on my phone. I'm just gonna eat here and just feel the awkwardness, you know? And all of a sudden, these two little girls come up and be like, you're Dana from TikTok. I have so many questions. And they're like, can we sit down? I'm like, sure. And then they called their friends, 7 more of them. Soon enough, there's 20 of these girls. I'm trying to have an alone day, trying to like, you know, be by myself for once. They're asking all these questions like, how did you do this? Like, how can I be more like this? And I'm just giving them all advice now. And I'm like, I mean, I guess if I was with a friend, they might have not approached me, but because I was by myself, so, and I told them like my whole story. Like I said, I'm open book. So yeah, so it's just like exciting because without those difficult times, I can't, you know, help these younger girls. They're all 13 years old, and they look up to me as like their bigger sister almost in a way.
Right.
And like it's so nice giving advice, and like that's why I'm so keen on mental health. And even one of the shirts that we made through my shop, it's a mental health awareness shirt that we have. And so yeah, so I feel like difficult times are good because you can teach others through your difficult times, you know.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dana, we're also curious about. Imagine 5 years later, what imagine yourself would be?
In 5 years, I hope that I'm on tour with music because I feel like music is so powerful, which is how I brought up with music and lyrics and everything. It's like whatever you sing, it's if you have a catchy song, you're just gonna be singing it, and you don't if it's a bad, you know, topic that they're singing about, you're still gonna be singing it, and you don't care if it's a bad topic, it's music. Like that's like one of my biggest things. And in 5 years, hopefully at least to find somebody set up to explain my mom's story, because my mom had a lot of overcoming in her life. She has an insane story, so I just know it would probably help a lot of people who are younger to like have my mom's story come out. And then also my clothing line, I want it to be like a huge, an amazing thing for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Looking back, you know, what advice would you give yourself from, you know, Dana 5 years ago? What would you tell yourself?
I already have advice for myself now. Only because I have a huge fear of stage fright. That's like my biggest fear, and I've never performed my music for anyone before, and so I just know that if I overcome these nerves now, like I could be already over the hump with things and stuff like that. And more so even back then, there was times where I would be sitting in like a setting like this, and I would have the biggest fear of like what other people thought of, you know, how I'm like giving my advice, or I'm like, oh, I don't want to speak on anything because what if they don't like my advice and now I feel like I just hurt them, or, you know, something like that. And so that was like definitely what I've overcome with that. But yeah, my advice to my older self would be just like get over it. Like get over it. Like
How about you, Zoe?
I would say that growth is limitless. Hence my channel name, like my entire brand name is Zoe Unlimited. It's really funny how it was like an auto-generated Instagram handle.
No way.
And I was like, that sounds really powerful.
No way.
I'm gonna take
That's
it.
cool.
But I feel like the more and more I use it, the more and more like I've grown into this version of myself where growth is truly limitless. And that is just absolutely exciting because what you thought was like the impossible thing to achieve will become like your new starting point someday. And that's just fascinating how like what you could do with yourself and your time, and like what kind of impacts you want to drive on other people. So that to me is always super exciting when it comes to content and like storytelling, and also think about like what brands I want to build in the future.
Not 5 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. Yeah, 30 years ago, let me think. I will say, okay, Diane, you're a brave girl. And you work already very hard. Be relaxed.
I mean, it's so inspiring, and I'm so grateful for you both to be here with us today.
Right.
Yeah.
I also get inspiration from them.
Like,
Fantastic. Yeah.
well, thank you so much for joining us on The Climb today, and I'm so excited to share this with our audience.
Yeah, thank you.